Shane Congrove, Daniel Hines, and Eric Griffin. So we have in the middle seat, Todd Stevens Grant Company versus, let's get some Boggle action from Daniel Hines, green-white hexproof. And on Kevin's side, he's playing this mono-red aggro from Eric Griffin. You know, what I like about this team of Congrove, Hines, and Griffin is each of their decks is just jamming. It's like, I'm doing my thing, stop me.
Plenty of time for a lunch break with this squad.
Right, look at this. We have, hexproof, sneak and show, mono red. Just no reactive cards in any of these 75s.
Everybody make sure to get their shoving practice in this week.
Yeah. Turn of 1, Gitaxian Probe from Harlan shows Probe, 3 lands, Lotus Petal, Emrakul, and Jace.
That hand is not very good. You're heavy on lands. You don't have redraws. If you're just bricking, you have a turn 3 Jace. That's all you have going on, and this is Legacy.
A Cabal Therapy could tear this apart.
Yes. Well, what even is there to tear apart?
Well, let's see. Cabal Therapy.
You might even just take the Probe.
Oh, that's so good. Takes Emrakul.
You don't want to get show and tell, especially if Harlan doesn't have a counter spell. That name makes a lot of sense.
You'd hate to just lose.
Yeah.
It kind of implies, I would think here, that we'll find a way to deal with Jace. That's not going to happen.
Oh, Jace is not going to be a problem.
It's too much mana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jace tends to shine against more decks like blue-white, where they're fighting over your combo and then they're not really applying pressure.
Ooh, on Shane's side, another land drawn for the turn. He picks up another island. This is a little too much mana. Probe's back. We see Gurmag, Angler, Young Pyromancer, and 3 fetch lands.
Okay, Harlan's hand's kind of a stinker, too.
Say top deck's better. Both decks flush on cantrips.
Yes. With the Young Pyromancer, there's just strings of draws. Certainly if Harlan finds a Brainstorm, this hand changes a lot.
Yeah. To be fair, though, with the Brainstorm, Shane's hand changes a lot, too.
Right.
It's real. That card could put either player ahead.
Kind of the difference is Harlan has threats. The Brainstorm cleans up the lands, can find disruption, whereas Shane has to clean up these lands and find something to do.
Right. Shane played Lotus Petal. He got a Force of Will off the Gitaxian Probe, but outside, and that Jace is a blue card. If he really wants to pitch it to counter Young Pyromancer, he can.
It might be worth it. That's a pretty close call, actually.
Yeah.
Harlan's a bit away from casting the Gurmag Angler. You buy a lot of time, and the Jace probably isn't winning the game.
Actually, Ryan, if you Force of Will this Pyromancer, Harlan has the Angler next turn.
Right, he already knows about the land. Yeah. That's fair.
So Shane lets it resolve. Here's Ponder.
It's always awkward when you cast a Ponder and you're specifically looking for Brainstorm, but you can still try to find out. If these top 3 are very good, you can find show and tell and something to put in.
Top 3 Ponder here. Shane looks like he wants them. And especially with extra fetch lands in hand, Ponder just becomes a very powerful card. It's, you look at 3, draw 1, crack a fetch land.
For Harlan, the ideal draw is going to be Gitaxian Probe, so you can cast second Pyromancer, cast the Probe, flash back that Therapy, clean up anything that might have materialized that matters in Shane's hand.
Looks like Shane liked more than one of the cards here. He drew one and then actually plays a basic island instead of the fetch land.
That's going to be alarming for Harlan. It does inform you, something particularly good is there.
Yeah.
It gives you a little information on what you want to name with this Therapy, should you go that route.
Ooh, another Young Pyromancer for Harlan. This could be a very quick clock.
Yes. This snowballs relatively quickly. The draw for this turn was Deathrite Shaman, so you'd rather have basically any blue spell in the deck.
Yeah, he's got Deathrite Shaman, Gurmag Angler, and a fetch land in hand, so he passes. But it looks like this is going to be fine. Force of Will fighting over the Pyromancer. That's a win for Harlan.
Yeah, that definitely goes down cards here. And Shane had to pitch the Jace. I believe Brainstorm available in the hand, though.
Well, I suppose, think about the Jace for a second. If you're going to let Young Pyromancer resolve, what's Jace? There's 4 power in play for Harlan. That's not a good card anymore.
Right.
Harlan, though, with that Deathrite Shaman is going to be able to make another play with his land this turn.
Mm-hmm. And now you know a card that's been drawn. You already knew about the Jace. Because these creatures are just kind of worth more than the Elemental token, no reason for Harlan to Therapy just yet. A lot of information about the hand already available.
Is that Brainstorm in Shane's hand? So here we do have Brainstorm with fetch land in play for Shane. Big draw. His hand he has a lot of cleaning up to do.
Yeah, the Masters 25 Brainstorm.
I hadn't seen that one yet.
I think it first appeared in Vintage Masters online only.
So completes the Brainstorm, and that really is going to help things.
Yes.
Looks like he picked up a Ponder off the Brainstorm, which is why we're seeing all this main phase.
Yeah. Start to churn through the deck a little bit more.
Harlan has a good clock going with Deathrite and Young Pyromancer. However, his hand, as mentioned before, is just a land and a Gurmag Angler. His shields are down.
And the thing about Delver decks is that the power is the entire deck, the way that everything hums together. The pressure is just not high enough to actually beat a combo deck before they can combo off. And Harlan is currently light on disruption here.
Top 3 on Ponder.
And Harlan's deck even slower than Grixis Delver. He's eschewed the Delver Secrets this weekend.
Yeah. Really just these Shamans and Pyromancers are the main threats.
Yep. This figures to be pretty good in things like Grixis Mirrors, where your opponent's on Delver, you're not. It's a pretty weak card.
Yeah, against Sneak and Show, though, I miss Delver Secrets here. That's a nice, quick clock.
You like your threats to cost 1.
Yeah.
And it's also, yeah, just gets online faster.
Shane shuffling off the Ponder. He had his choice of blue cards and lands, but you think he's looking for combo pieces here.
Yes.
He's going to draw a land anyway, basic mountain.
Yeah, the draw really not coming together, which is kind of the folly of these combo decks.
Yeah, he's got 2 more land. He has 3 cards in hand, and 2 of them are lands. Hoping that Brainstorm could have cleaned that up for him. It looks like it didn't. Thoughtseize, we'll see what he kept. It was Show and Tell and 2 lands, so Show and Tell's going to go away. And that's going to be a pretty big win for Harlan. Now just his opponent's playing off the top of the deck. Maybe only has 1 turn to do it.
Right. Even if there were another spell, Harlan still has that Therapy in the graveyard. He could be flashing that back. But as is, he just gets to keep applying pressure.
Oh, yeah, he has the Young Pyromancer. So here's Gurmag Angler. Delves away everything except those Therapy. Makes sense. Shane at 14, but I bet this is going to be a 2-turn clock for sure.
Yeah. Nice thing about maintaining the Therapy is that this 2-card combo deck, you know, needs to draw both cards. So next turn you get a shot to potentially name if one of them was drawn. Attacks
Shane down to 12, and you count up damage. It's 10 on end step, and then 10 more power, and then in play you see exactly 10. Yeah, he has him. Yeah, he has it in 2.
Yep.
Sneak Attack, the draw for Shane. Good card, not going to save him.
If he wasn't just dead, that's a well above average draw step.
Yeah. Plays a land. He can count it out, but he's dead.
Yep.
And picks up the cards. Harlan Fear, Grixis Pyromancer. He wins the first game here for their team.
Yeah, both players kind of below average hands, but things just don't come together for Shane.
When you look over Todd's side, he's got, first of all, they're still in game 1, and Todd's got 4 giant dice on his creatures. That seems like he's picking up a win as well. It means he hasn't lost to the Boggle.
Yeah. It can be a matter of time before a bunch of coronets show up, though.
All right. So we are going to go ahead and talk about sideboards of Congrove versus Fear, but before that, we're going to have a short word from our sponsors. Well, game one went over to Harlan Fear. Let's look at Sneak and Show's sideboard. 2 copies of Blood Moon, 2 Defense Grids, 2 Echoing Truth, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Kozilek's Return. That actually hits most creatures here. An Abrade, an Engineered Explosives, a Graph Digger's Cage, a red Elemental Blast, and a Surgical Extraction. Anything you like here?
Generally, you're going to sideboard pretty lightly with Sneak and Show. This is a matchup that has discard spells and counter spells, so a lot of this stuff ends up losing a lot of value. For example, Defense Grid, very bad against Cabal Therapy.
Yeah.
Pretty good against a lot of blue decks. You might shelve it, but it's fine in the matchup. Flusterstorm is a little bit more work because you can kind of counter these things, fight a counter war. I actually like Kozilek's Return.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be caught with cards in your hand that your opponent can ignore.
Right.
And Blood Moon, Harlan actually plays a lot of basics. So I don't think
both players have Blood Moons in their sideboard. So
okay. Great,
if either's bringing them in, that's going to be a little weird.
Is that standard out of Grixis Pyromancer now to have 3 Blood Moons? We're taking a look over at Harlan's board.
Yeah, the deck's definitely an unusual build. You know, typically the deck is Grixis Delver, not Grixis Pyromancer. Once you go a little bit bigger, it makes a little bit more sense. You do have your own Deathrite Shamans. He's got a few more basic lands, which you can afford to play more lands. And then Harlan's just going to have more counter spells post sideboard.
It's almost like he's expecting to see a bunch of lands in the Legacy seat.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think that, right? 3 Blood Moons in your Grixis sideboard? That's aggressive.
Also, just the basics make you better against Ghost Quarter, which has been pretty popular.
Yeah. So, Shane on the play here for game number 2. Looking over at Harlan's hand, he does have a Flusterstorm, Force of Will, and blue card, so I like that.
These cards are real good. You need a threat, though.
Yep. Looks like Pyroblast is the last card, so yeah, no threat, but a lot of reaction. Here's Ponder to start from Shane.
Hands like this, you know, they look really nice, but they have a lot of potential to lose.
2 Defense Grids. This is interesting. Shane would love to have a Defense Grid. I don't know if he wants... The problem is he doesn't have a intermediate shuffle. Well, he might. But we'll see. He can get one of them.
If you think you have to beat multiple counter spells, the second grid is actually fine. Just the first one blocks for the second one.
He draws.
The question is, does the hand have a combo rolled up on top of the grids? If you don't have that, you probably have to shuffle.
Here's Probe from Harlan. He sees Defense Grid, Sneak Attack, Emrakul, Gristlebrand.
Yeah, he sees a rolled up combo.
Yeah, okay. And then lands, and one of them's a city. So far, another result in here. Game 1 goes over to Kevin Jones, Grixis Energy in Standard.
Yeah, Mono Red Aggro, one of the other very good decks in Standard, but Grixis Energy certainly has the tools to beat it.
Thoughtseize available in Harlan's hand. Picks that one up off the Probe. Wouldn't mind one of those.
That's a great pickup.
You take the Defense Grid? You take Sneak Attack?
I'm kind of thinking Sneak Attack.
Yeah, you can have Emrakul, Gristlebrand, Defense Grid, that's fine.
Yeah.
Your cards don't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you take the grid, then you're still fighting over the combo, and maybe Harlan has enough counter magic to do that. It's between those two things, certainly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what you said is hard about cards like Defense Grid. Well, we'll take Defense Grid.
And now Shane feeling pretty good about having that second one.
Yeah. Now the question, did he put it on top or second from the top?
Yeah. We'll find out.
That's what I want to know. Second from the top. He draws Preordain.
Kind of tried to play it safe so he could preordain it away, but because he wanted to draw it.
Well, Ryan, he has Cydia Traders. If he really wants to jam it this turn, it's still available.
Yeah, you can preordain into it, and then you get to cast the Sneak Attack next turn with your mana because you just float the Cydia Traders mana, but he's leading on Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to make Sneak Attack and activate it all in one go by having 5 mana in a turn. If he played City this turn, he wouldn't be able to do that. Preordain shows top cards. Flusterstorm, Defense Grid. I'm pretty into keeping both these.
It's unfortunate that if you grid next turn, you won't be able to Sneak Attack, as it's the first turn you'll have 4 mana. The cards are good in the matchup. The mana is a little awkward.
Clean sweep of game 1 is complete. Todd Stevens, Green-White Company, gets game 1.
And Harlan finally online with the threat.
Yeah, there we go. There's Deathrite Shaman.
It's a very slow one, but it's something.
All right, Shane now has the Flusterstorm and the Defense Grid. See what he wants to do. Here's Cydia Traders. He's going to run out Defense Grid again. The only way Harlan can interact is Force plus blue card, and he'll also lose that fight to a Flusterstorm if he goes for it.
I mean, the Force of Will's pretty bad once the grid's on the battlefield, though Harlan does have access to mana to pay for it and cast Force of Will on future turns. The kind of big issue, though, is he'll never be able to fight an actual counter war.
Yeah, if he wants to win this counter war, it'll take all his counter spells to do it. And if you spend all your counter spells to win a fight over a defense grid, what did you accomplish?
The thing is, it's just a real rock and a hard place scenario.
Yeah.
His hand's just not going to be great against this grid no matter how he slices it. And I do like that he's going for the Force of Will here.
Force pitching Flusterstorm. Harlan goes to 14. He's got a Red Blast still in hand, but that's not going to matter against this Flusterstorm on Shane's side.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention his Red Blast wouldn't do much about sneak attack anyway. And so the defense grid resolves, and Harlan is in trouble now.
Yes.
Sneak attack, he knows that his opponent's hand is sneak attack, Emrakul, Gristlebrand.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And the deck obviously has more copies of Sneak Attack, Show and Tell, the combination of those, than defense grids, though Harlan getting punished for taking the grid over the Sneak Attack.
So here's a Brainstorm. He's hoping to find a discard spell to nab that Sneak Attack before Shane gets there. And he gets Spell Pierce, but and now we see the damage that defense grid does.
And 2 lands.
And we actually have to stop here. There was a defense grid in play.
It's Harlan's turn.
Oh, we're just on Harlan's turn? Never mind.
Yeah. That,
no,
was that end step? Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see what the ruling was on that. It's there was, players did acknowledge that had happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if that was in response or something like that.
Back over to Shane. Draws a Lotus Petal. This should just be a rolled up combo.
Yep, that's the second red mana. Can activate Sneak Attack this
And to say
turn.
what happened there is that players, the defense grid was still on the stack.
Sure.
That was, but we see here's Sneak Attack. Harlan, he can pay for spell. He can Spell Pierce anyway. He has enough mana. He pays for defense grid. Oh my.
Yeah,
Harlan wins the fight.
Shane's hand's just those large creatures. Can't do anything about that.
Okay, then. Back over to Harlan. There's still some game to be played. Says go. Lightning Bolt and Red Elemental Blast in hand. A draw of City of Traders from Shane's not going to do anything. He passes back.
Mm-hmm.
Harlan's going to keep going to work. Starting to eat away Shane's graveyard. It's 2 damage a turn.
Yeah. Shaman may be a slow clock, but you have all the time in the world in this battlefield.
Cabal Therapy picked up for Harlan. He'll cast it.
He still knows 2 of the cards in hand, Emrakul, Gristlebrand.
Yeah, do you sacrifice Deathrite Shaman to get them both, Ryan? Or no, you like your clock too much?
You need a creature.
Gets rid of Gristlebrand, and you're right, he doesn't sacrifice it. He leaves Emrakul there. But now he knows.
Once you cast the therapy, Harlan wants to flash that back at some point.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you try to top deck a second creature to cast flashback the therapy, or try to top deck a second creature because you've already sacrificed your Deathrite Shaman?
Right. You might as well get in the incremental damage anyway. Deathrite Shaman keeps going to work. Shane down to 14. Draws Young Pyromancer.
That's
well, how's
huge.
that?
Excellent draw.
Do you want to get rid of your Deathrite now? Pyromancer.
He has a Lightning Bolt. He can use the Deathrite to make another red mana, cast a Bolt, flashback the therapy.
Sure. And that's what he's going to do. Good call. Here's Young Pyromancer. Makes a red Lightning Bolt upstairs. Shane's at 11. Gets an Elemental token. Sacks the Elemental token to flashback the therapy. Gets another Elemental token. Takes the Gristlebrand. And now Shane's graveyard hand is just lands.
Takes Emrakul. Going to shuffle
those
back in.
Still plenty of instants and sorceries in his own graveyard. Harlan's not going to run out of targets for Deathrite Shaman.
And he's got a lot more pressure on the battlefield now.
Yeah. And remember, it's actually a 2-turn clock. He has Pyroblast in hand, which you can target non-red things with that if you just want an elemental.
I think it's Red Elemental Blast that he has. It's the Ice Age card.
Can't.
Yeah.
Pyro does it, Red Elemental does not. It's one of those few situations where the difference matters.
Yeah.
Here's Preordain from Shane.
Either way, Harlan not in bad shape.
All right, Shane draws Sneak Attack, and he'll just make it right here using the Lotus Petal. Does he have a monster as the last card? Here's Sneak Attack with red up.
Oh, still second City of Traders.
Nope, says go. Got to draw one.
Taxian Probe's a reasonable pickup for Harlan.
Sure, I'll go to 11, get an elemental. Still looking at a 2-turn clock. Draws another young Pyromancer, sure.
Yeah, that one's whatever.
Swings for 3, Shane's at 8. And step 6, untapped, 6 is on the board. He says go. He needs to dodge one draw and show and tell. It looks like Harlan did it.
Yeah, this match is going to go his way.
Magic players, we're looking for one.
And Shane just passes back. Here's the activation.
Activates Shane down to 6.
In a 4-round standard Swiss event.
Untaps. Swings for 4. Deathrite. It's down to 6. That's down to 2. Deathrite makes it lethal. Harlan Fear 2-0 wins Legacy. Grixis Pyromancer cleans up. So we now move over to the modern table. Game number 2 has just started. Todd Stevens, Green-White Company, trying to make a 5-0 sweep. He has to beat Hexproof. He got game 1, which is already big.
That's huge. His sideboard also has some help as well. Some Reclamation Sages hanging out.
Yeah, you know, with the Company deck, Reclamation Sage, he's one of the few decks that could still play something like Spellskite. I don't believe he has them this weekend, but he has Engineered Explosives. He's got a lot.
Yes. Eldritch Evolution can find the Sage if he wants that specifically. He has Blessed Alliance in the sideboard. That can be really powerful.
See a pair of Boggles, or rather a Boggle and a Scout swinging in for Daniel, but no auras yet. Just Hexproofers. We go back over to Todd. Todd just playing lands up until turn 4, says go.
You see Todd's hand has a Path to Exile still post sideboard. That's good against specifically Core Spirit Dancer. The bigger thing, though, he has Collected Company and Worship.
Yeah, Worship. I was going to say he has Knight of the Reliquary and chose not to make it here. Interesting. But Todd knows what he's up to. We'll go over. It's turn 4 for Daniel Hines. And players putting their hands down the table. It was a 5-0 sweep, but not the one we were looking for. Kevin Jones 2-0 in a standard finishes the match, and what a convincing round there.
And Worship pretty